Hello everybody and welcome to Sports Center, where we give you all the updates on what is going on in the world of sports. Today, we will be focusing on women in sports and the latest stories that are going on. As always, I'm joined with my co-host, Jenna Bussiere, and we'll be talking about topics like the World Cup, Paula Creamer's fight for her Women's Masters, and the Boston Marathon. Starting off for today, 12-time tournament-winning golf player Paula Creamer addressed the idea of the Masters adding another week of play that would include a women's tournament along with the men's. Creamer, a professional golfer on the U.S.-based LPGA Tour, stressed how important it is to add a women's tournament, mainly for growth. Last week, Creamer began to display her opinions when she posted a tweet to her Twitter page. In her tweet, Creamer said, "I hope the Masters will consider a women's Masters soon. They do so much to grow the game. Fastest area of golf growth is women. #6 majors." This week, Creamer doubled down. In an interview with the Associated Press, Creamer said how she's already been there, played at, and stayed in the Butler's cabin in Augusta. Creamer has stated, "That's what it is, about growing the game and giving people opportunities. I think the patrons and everybody would love to have 2 weeks there, 2 tournaments. Why wouldn't you?" Billy Payne, chairman of the Augusta National Golf Club, which hosts the tournament, says that a women's Masters probably wouldn't be possible because of everything that goes into already hosting one tournament.
There's less than 2 months left until the FIFA Women's World Cup starts up on June 6th. And as we get closer to this date, we are seeing more and more updates on the women's national team. They recently released their 23-player roster for the upcoming tournament, which includes familiar faces such as Alex Morgan and Christy Rampone. But also, it introduces first-timers to the team, like 22-year-old Morgan Bryant, a rising star in the midfield from the University of Virginia. In addition to the roster announcement, there's also been the reveal of the team's new uniforms. This has received quite the criticism. Their home jerseys are purely white and black, with no ounce of red or blue. And also, there's no resemblance of the American flag, except for a tiny triangle on the inside of the jersey that nobody will see. This has received a ton of negative backlash, with even USA Today calling the uniforms un-American and describing them as having more Nike swooshes than references to the American flag. But despite the criticism, the women on the team defend the look. Cindy LaRue says Nike has done an amazing job with designing these uniforms. Well, we'll see them take the field in these all-white kits on June 8th against Australia.
Continuing on the subject of the 2015 World Cup, I had the opportunity to sit down with one special player who will be bidding farewell to the tournament this year. We know her for her goal scoring, famous headers, and constant hard work on and off the field. That's right, we're talking about Abby Wambach. Let's take a look. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Sports Discourse. I'm Kelly Braun. Today, we are joined by the legendary athlete who is currently known as the greatest goal scorer in women's soccer, Abby Wambach. Abby, throughout her career, has won 2 Olympic gold medals and was named the 2012 FIFA Player of the Year. Now, Wambach is currently preparing for what is going to be her last World Cup in Canada that's taking place this summer. Thank you for joining us today, Abby. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So you've been a key asset on the team since 2003, not only with your fantastic skills, but with your leadership skills. How does it feel mentally preparing yourself for what's going to be your last World Cup?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really, really hard to mentally handle this because it's so bittersweet. I mean, as an athlete, you know that there's going to be that day when your body can't take this kind of toll on it anymore. You have to hang your hat and just walk off the field for good. But when it actually happens, it's extremely sad. It's bittersweet because I want to leave on a great note. I want to get that World Cup win as my last time in the tournament. But then I know that I'm done with actually playing.
So within the last year, there's been a little bit of controversy whether or not the game's going to be played on real grass or turf. And you, among other players, have fought for real grass. You filed a lawsuit and you eventually backed out. What can you tell us about that?
I felt like there was a lot of injustice between the men and women's game because I feel like the men's game is always played on real grass, just as ours has been in the past. But the controversy and even just the question between turf and grass would probably never even come up in a men's game. But I just want to give all my attention to just the game of soccer and not take away anything from that. And I want to give everything I can in this last World Cup.
Now that this is your last cup, how do you expect your legacy to end?
I just want to win. I want to hold that cup in my hand one last time, go out with these women, and really bring USA home the cup.
Well, that's all the time we have for today left on Sports Discourse. Another huge thank you to Abby Wambach and a good luck to you and the rest of the women's national team in the World Cup. Back to you guys in the studio. What a fantastic experience that was to sit down and speak with an athlete as legendary as Abby Wambach. Next up, Jenna talks about the Greg Hardy controversy. Jenna?
The ongoing situation with newly signed defensive end Greg Hardy to the Dallas Cowboys is something I have a personal struggle with. 1, I'm a Cowboys fan, and 2, I'm a woman. Hardy was cut from the Carolina Panthers last season after a domestic violence incident, where, according to police phone calls, a neighbor describes as a brutal beating. "Get here now," the neighbor tells the police, "before this girl gets seriously hurt. He's beating her." The court case between Hardy and his ex-girlfriend Nicole Holder was thrown out due to her unavailability. Sure, his girlfriend, who he threatened to kill, who was the victim in the situation, did not show up to court, and people use that as justification that he did nothing wrong and that he's an innocent man. But a victim in this situation doesn't want the fame, doesn't want the money. They want to be free of their abuser, and that's no reason to patronize them. So, Hardy is reinstated into the NFL, and during the midst of the league's campaigning against domestic violence through different ads and speeches, what does Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys staff do? Sign Greg Hardy, a person at the forefront of one of the NFL's biggest societal issues. So as a female against domestic violence and a football fan who's a lover of the Dallas Cowboys, I can honestly say I don't know if I'll be able to root for them this fall. But Roger Goodell has finally shown some leadership by suspending Hardy for 10 games this upcoming season. But Jerry Jones plans to appeal it and hopes to shorten it by 6. I can only hope the suspension will stand. So back to you, Kelly.
After 2 years and 17 surgeries that failed to save her leg, Boston bombing amputee Rebecca Gregory ran at the marathon this year. Despite being told otherwise from doctors, the 27-year-old was determined to cross the finish line and run past the spot where she almost died 2 years ago. When reaching mile 23, the pain that Gregory was expected to have turned even more intense when she twisted her knee, right above the prosthetic running blade she was wearing. After pushing herself to a limit where pain could no longer be taken, Rebecca accepted a ride in a police car to mile 25. At mile 25, she began to run again as the Boston crowd embraced her fully. Gregory stated, "I didn't run as far as I wanted to run, but I still did what I came here to do, and I have to be proud of myself for that. I want people to know that there's life after bad things that happen to you, and if I could be someone's hope or inspiration, that's what I want to do." Gregory says she plans on running the full Boston Marathon next year.
Now we'll turn it over to local news from nearby Montclair State University, where the women's teams have seen some tremendous success over the last couple of years. And we have an up-close look at the women's lacrosse team, who just closed out their regular season with a senior day win this Saturday. They defeated Rutgers Camden 19-4, but their season hasn't been all smooth sailing like that game might entail. Let's have a look at what the coaches and a key player on the team had to say about overcoming certain obstacles this year in order to create a better program.
In 2014, the Montclair State University women's lacrosse team was not used to losing. The Redhawks won 14 games straight, going undefeated before falling in 2 losses at the end of their season. This year, the team has suffered from some early road bumps, but is moving the program in a new direction.
Having those 4 losses are going to define us in the long run. They are going to make us a stronger team because our strength of schedule has been so strong this season.
I think the losses really kind of mentally challenged us. I think last year it was such a smooth ride that once we did drop our first game, it became a little bit of we didn't know that we weren't familiar with that feeling.
They took on top 20 teams like Stevenson, Amherst, and Fredonia and suffered from 4 losses right at the start of their season.
Out of those 4 losses, 3 of them were straight. We were 2-1 and we dropped 3 straight. I think during that time was a real gut check.
Now, the Redhawks are on a 5-game winning streak and currently undefeated in the New Jersey Athletic Conference.
I just think this team is the most talent we've seen in a while.
Since the filming of that piece, Vanessa Ray, the team's senior and captain who we saw in the video, tore her ACL during a conference game against Stockton. She is unable to play in the rest of the season, but she's still devoted to helping cheer on her teammates. Working hard this season, the women's lacrosse team has shown what perseverance can do for a team. Well, that wraps up our show for today. We hope that with all the stories and breaking news that we discussed on today's show informed you on how big of an impact women really make in the world of sports. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode where we'll be talking about what's to come in this season for Major League Baseball. I'm Kelly Braun. And I'm Jenna Bussiere. Have a great night, everybody.